Come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
It is, in fact, Friday here on SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do, however you are accessing us, large device. And it is a day where we get you ready for the weekend. Hopefully you got the pony or the llama or whatever it was that you were chasing after, if you so celebrated the day yesterday. And happy Kwanzaa to those who embrace and celebrate today as well. So this is the rundown for the morning. It's going to almost seem like a Thursday, because the Power Hour Thursday, which is our buddy Nino Torres from GOLTV and Niko Moreno from Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports, that's going to be hour number 2. And we will check with each one of them, because this week and next week are going to be similar, because you're going to have that holiday right there on Thursday. So I'm going to check with them and find out what day works for them next week, and we'll plug them into those appropriate slots. We'll see what day Nino wants to join at 10 and what day Niko wants to join at 10:30. And we'll go from there. So that's hour number 2. Hour number 1, we're keeping an eye on AFCON. Right now, 15 minutes to go in the first match of 4. At the beginning of match, and Zimbabwe are tied at 1. And we'll go over all of the permutations and what will happen with results 15 minutes and beyond coming up in just a little bit. Juice boxes, just to give you an idea. Once again, 10 o'clock as we start hour number 2. They start game number 2 in match day 2. Egypt and South Africa, probably the one of the marquee matchups of the day, if not the marquee matchup of the day. Egypt comes in at a plus 104, 90-minute draws a plus 200. South Africa is a plus 311, 1230. It is Zambia and the Comoros. Zambia is a plus 139, draws a plus 195, and the Comoros are a plus 2.25. 3 o'clock Eastern time, Morocco and Mali. Mali's a plus 555 to come out with a win in 90 minutes. 90-minute draws a plus 276, and Morocco is a minus 182. And so we'll go over the previews of that a little later on as we go here this morning. But we're keeping an eye on, once again, there in Marrakesh, and that's where we start match day 2 today. If you do not and have not subscribed to the Morning Espresso newsletter, set your notifications for the video version, audio version, all those kinds of things. That's Jason's official kickoff of your day. Keep an eye out for that in your mailboxes and in your notifications across all of your social media. That's like in 20 minutes or less, that kind of gets you ready for the day. And then what we do here at SDH AM, we kind of go deep dives into the topics that we come across on a daily basis. And then we let you know with our round of experts and pundits what's going on in and around the planet. That's how we set things up during the day. And then you have all of the other programming that we have going down the line. And that's where we are on a Friday. So we took yesterday off, and I guess this technically is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, here is the QR code. If I can grab it really quickly. There's the QR code. That's the QR code right there for those of you hanging out with us. And you hit that QR code, you start your day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. What we would ask is that you buy out the store. And then when you buy out the store, what you end up doing there is you can do it, and then you can do it at a 15% discount when you sit there and you go, I'm going to use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. And when you use SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so yesterday was the celebration of Christmas, 12/25. And the way things are for those of you that are not familiar with how things are when it comes to our celebrations, and I will use the term in a plural, we do most of our stuff on Christmas Eve. We'll do all the opening of the gifts on Christmas Eve. We'll do all the other things on Christmas Eve. And then we'll save, because the family separates and goes to other branches. And then on Christmas Day, it's kind of a slow roll, and anything that hasn't happened, then you kind of catch up with that. And then you put a bow on everything on Christmas Day. And the bow traditionally is the Waffle House meal. And you end up on that kind of a celebration, and you wonder legitimately what the crowds are going to be like and how many folks are going to be there. Big save to keep things at 1-1, and you wonder legitimately just how many folks are going to be in Waffle House. And I had some other errands that I had to run that were a part of it. And you end up with the idea of, okay, one errand turns into two, and you kind of get a decent subsection of who didn't do what they were supposed to do on the time leading up to Christmas. And so everyone who's trying to resurrect what happened or what was supposed to happen and didn't, you kind of see them as that subsection. As you're out chasing your errands just to kind of put a bow on everything, you're seeing who might need to get some things, maybe some batteries here and there. So the drugstores were open, and mercifully, I didn't see a whole lot of folks that were trying to rumble through the Christmas food or the Christmas clothing or anything like that. So I think at least in this particular pocket of by the way, Montgomery, Alabama hotel room, and we'll be back in studio on Monday. You didn't really see a whole lot of folks that were trying to make up, it looked like, and trying to get things that they should have and didn't. So I think that I saw a lot of folks that were getting like batteries and things like that, just trying to sit there and go, oh yeah, I did. That was the one thing that I did forget was the batteries, and I didn't get the opportunity to buy the right ones or buy enough of the right ones. Saw a lot of that. Didn't see a whole lot of folks that were trying to sit there and go, now, is this T-shirt going to fit? It's a triple X. Is that going to fit them? Didn't see a whole lot of that in the drugstores. Then you go to Waffle House, and you kind of wonder what it's going to be like at that particular Waffle House at that particular time in that particular day. And there are some Waffle Houses that will let you call ahead. And there are some, and I think that it's a byproduct of larger cities, that you will have Waffle Houses that will not have you call ahead. And then you'll have to kind of go in and sit and be there on your own. And so I go in and I'm thinking, okay, there aren't a whole lot of people here. So, maybe the order that I can place is going to be a decent order, and I'll get it, turned around at a decent time after having visited the drugstore. What I didn't count on was what I'm used to seeing in Atlanta, was the idea that you can't dial ahead and just do pickup orders. So I go into the Waffle House, and sure enough, there's this absolute row of orders that have been picked up, and it is just orders, and they're ready to go. There's like 7 of them right there in the row on the table, and it took a while. Well, but it's good to know that at the same time, a lot of folks will have the same idea that you do when it comes to your holiday meal, is going to Waffle House. And like I said, for me, it is the grilled cheese wheat on 2, triple order hash browns, and then you go from there. So good to know that in some cities you can dial ahead and that you can pick up. And otherwise, this particular Waffle House would have been overrun. You would have had every booth full. You would have had every seat full on the bar, and you would have had no chance to get anything done. But it ended up with everybody that was getting their food eventually got their food. And I will say this, that there was a great deal of patience that was exerted by folks who were coming in to try to pick up their order, in addition to the folks that were checking out, that were sitting in. So if we could have that same kind of patience the other 364 days out of the year, I think that would be cool. Just take the patience that you had yesterday and apply it to the other 364 days out of the year. So that is my wish, that is a carryover from what we saw on 12/25, getting you ready for 12/26 and beyond. So that is opening kickoff. That is my humble wish, is that the patience that was exuded yesterday that I saw in this pocket of America be exuded and carried over to a lot of other places as well. So that is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, large device or small, and you get to kind of see what's going on with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. 84th minute now. It is, and Zimbabwe, once again, you have 10 o'clock Eastern, 12:30 Eastern, 3 o'clock Eastern for your AFCON for today, as match day 2 is now officially underway. A couple of other things that we want to get into this morning, and you saw them in Morning Espresso, and this is our opportunity to kind of let you know the background about what's going on. The Sam Surridge story that has kind of cropped up from Alex Crook over at TalkSport and the Telegraph and the Twitters, it appears that Wolves might be kicking the tires on Sam Surridge come January because they need all the help they can get. For those of you who aren't keeping an eye on the Premier League, just to give you an idea as to how bad the season is for Wolves this year. I mean, they're horrendous. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It is a special brand of awful that Wolves are this year. And you do have the one match today at 3 o'clock Eastern with Manchester United hosting Newcastle at Old Trafford. Just the one Boxing Day match in the Premier League today. This is a day for EFL Championship and the lower divisions. So Championship, League One, League Two. If you're looking at 10 o'clock Eastern time, then that's when you're going to be seeing a lot of kickoffs. And I think Wrexham and their match is at 12:30. So you have the one at 7 o'clock this morning Eastern time. You got a boatload of them at 10, and then you have the one match at 12:30. So here's how bad with the one Boxing Day match. Here's how bad things are. And we'll go over juice boxes for the Prem this weekend after we talk about how bad Wolves are. So the standings going into this particular match week, and fix your fantasy teams, just so you know. Runs. Arsenal right now, and this is after match day 17, heading into match day 18 starting today here in festive fixtures. Arsenal is at 39 points. 2 points clear of Manchester City, who have already lost 4 matches this year. And I think this goes to show you how competitive the Premier League is this year with everyone. Only 1 draw, 4 losses for Manchester City. They're at 37 points, and they're 2 points behind Arsenal. Villa have won 5 in a row. They are third at 36 points. It's those 3 right now. They're off in a group on their own. Then you get the chase pack. You have Chelsea, who on goal difference is right now 4th. Liverpool at same number of points as 5th. They would be in that Europa League slot. And then you have Sunderland, who has been a constant surprise this season. 7-6-4, 27 points, and they are in 6th. You wonder if they're going to be able to keep it up this level of competition that you're seeing. Manchester United's in 7th at 26, a goal ahead of Crystal Palace on goal difference. Brighton's at 24 points. They have scored 7 more goals than Everton. Newcastle is in 11th. They have better goal difference over both Brentford and Fulham. That gets you to 14th. Spurs have a better goal difference over Bournemouth. And then you have pack number last, whatever number you want. So literally you have from 4th to 15th, you have 12 teams separated by 7 points. And you think that this is wild. You go to the championship, and it's that much crazier. I might even do that just to let you know how crazy it is going into today. Everything's on Paramount Plus, by the way. The EFL Championship fixtures, all on Paramount Plus. So here's the final grouping. Leeds is at 16 points. They're unbeaten in their last 4 to get to 16th. 17th, they're at 18 points. They can't make up their mind what they want to do. They're either winning or losing in their last 5. They're 2 and 3. Then you get into the relegation fight. And this is where I think it's going to finish up this way. And we've discussed what can happen to the rent payments at the Olympic Stadium if West Ham goes down. West Ham right now is at 13 points, 3, 4, and 10. They've lost 10 of their first 17. And they've lost 2 in a row. They only have 2 points in their last 5 matches. So West Ham right now, 18th. They are 5 points from safety. Then you have Burnley, who finally snapped a 4-game losing streak with a draw last time out. They're at 11 points. They're 7 points from safety. And I think that Burnley, we have kind of gotten into the idea that Burnley is going to be one of those yo-yo teams. They're going to be great in the championship. They'll work their way up. Scotty Parker is going to have issues keeping them up in the Premier League, and then they'll go back down. So you're going to have that team that's going to be at the top of the EFL Championship, and they're going to fight their way in. They're going to get in through the playoff, and then they're going to have problems in the Premier League. They're going to go back down. And we apologize to J.J. Watt off the top. You'll notice that I haven't talked about Wolves until this moment. We go through the entire table. Wolves is dead blank and last right now. So 17 matches in. The number of points that Wolves have, 2. For those of you who are listening, I'm holding up 2 fingers. For those of you watching, you saw I was holding up 2 fingers. So that is how bad things are for Wolves. And what I'm going to do is I am going to the historically bad in the Premier League. So right now, Wolves, through match day 17, has lost 15 matches. They've scored 9 goals, so they're averaging roughly a half a goal a match. 9 goals scored, 37 allowed, goal difference of minus 28, 2 points. That's where Wolves is right now. And Wolves, come the January window, is interested in trying to figure out how to score, and so they're looking at Sam Surridge. We'll talk to our buddy Niko Moreno more about Sam Surridge and his growth coming out in the last half hour of the show this morning. But the worst Premier League team is regarded to be the Derby County squad in 2007-2008. We have like 4. 11 points, 1 win, 8 draws, 29 losses in 07-08. 11 points. So we are 2 matches away from the halfway point of the season, and Wolves are at 2 points. 2 points. Sunderland in 05-06 finished with 15. They scored only 21 goals, and they gave up 69. Nice. 15 points. 21 goals, 38 matches, gave up 69. 15 points total. Sheffield United from a couple seasons ago, 23-24, 16 points, 4th lowest total, and then that was regarded as like number 3. Ipswich in 94-95, and this was a 42-game season. 27 points, 40. This is like the first year that this would be like the inverse of when people were sitting there and looking at the home run record, and Babe Ruth hit 60 in 154 games, and then Roger Maris hit 61 in 162. This is like the inverse of that. Ipswich in a 42-match season in 94-95, 27 points, and lost to Manchester United 9-0. And so you've got Wolves right now. A lot of folks are saying, could Wolves be the worst team ever in Premier League history? They very well could be. And that's just not good. And then they also mentioned the Huddersfield Town team from 18-19 with David Wagner, where they finished with 16 points. Villa in 15-16 finished with 17. So you've got Derby County with 11, Huddersfield with 16, Sunderland 19, Sheffield United from 2021 in one of the many times that Chris Wilder was a manager. They finished with 23 points. So you end up with Derby County averaging 0.29 points per game. The remaining fixture list for Rob Edwards, apparently, it's one of the worst in the Premier League statistically. So legitimately, you could have it, and by a wide margin, you could have one of the worst Premier League seasons, if not the worst Premier League season ever with Rob Edwards. That's where things are right now with Wolves. And Wolves want to spend some money, possibly, probably, maybe, and get Sam Surridge from Nashville. Morning, Abby. So that's what you're looking at with the of Wolves trying to bring Sam Surridge over in the January window. Just we'll keep an eye on that. And then how would Nashville respond? Trying to get yet another score. I know that BJ Callahan in the front office, obviously they've got their short list and who they should be able to chase after leading into training camp. But if you're going to lose someone like Sam Surridge, this would be the time to do it. Lose him in the January window, find that replacement, get him integrated with Hani Mukhtar, and try to see if you can have that same kind of gravity that we talk about with the studs and stars like that, where instead of it being really easy to defend Nashville, then do you make it as difficult or even more so? Or do you trust the folks that you already have in-house that can take over something like that? Here's your juice boxes for the weekend in the Premier League. Once again, if you want your preview of Manchester United and Newcastle, the Drew Dickinson, that's on the network. Go back and you can listen to it when you set your notifications on the audio side on your favorite podcatcher. Tomorrow, you have the one match at 7:30. Forest hosting Manchester City. Forest a plus 436. Manchester City minus 179. Your draws a plus 350. 10 o'clock, you've got 5 matches. Arsenal minus 256 hosting Brighton at a plus 665. Brentford at a plus 127 hosting Bournemouth at the G-Tech at a plus 202. Keep an eye on the Antoine Semenyo sweepstakes. It's got to happen between January 1 and January 10. Got a quick note on Manchester City coming up in a bit. So Brentford, Bournemouth. Bournemouth a plus 202 at the G-Tech. Brentford a plus 127. Draws a plus 256. Burnley hosting Everton. Burnley north of plus 300. Everton on the road, a road favorite. Even money plus 100. Draws a plus 231. Liverpool and Wolves. Liverpool obviously big favorite. Minus 417. Wolves almost a plus 1,000 to win in 90 minutes. Draws a plus 564. West Ham is a plus 165. Fulham is a plus 164. Juice box purveyors were just like, yeah, we'll throw a blanket over it. It's even. I don't quite see how, but anyway, you end up with the draw at a plus 240. Your 12:30 game on Saturday, Chelsea and Villa. Chelsea a minus 122. Draws a plus 291. Villa is a plus 311. The Sunday matchups have Sunderland at 9 a.m. hosting Leeds at a plus 161. Leeds a plus 181. Draws a plus 220. And Crystal Palace at 11:30 hosting Spurs at a plus 127. Spurs a plus 221. Draws a plus 229. Then everything picks back up once again on Tuesday with 6 matches. New Year's Day has 4 matches. And then you have Friday, you have 2. And then it starts things off on January 4th. With Leeds and Manchester United at 7:30 Eastern. So if West Ham gets relegated, and right now it ain't looking good, since they play in the Olympic Stadium, the amount of rent that could be collected by the city would obviously be less since they would be in a lesser championship, a lesser competition. So if you're a member of the city government, you're sitting there and you're hoping that something happens above West Ham to try and make sure that they continue to pay the Premier League level rent. But if they get relegated, there's a percentage that happens, and the city would not be getting as much if West Ham is playing an EFL championship as opposed to when they are in the Premier League. So that's what you're staring at with West Ham, who is 5 points from safety, once again right now after match day 17. And I wanted to show you how crazy things are in the championship. And let me double check our friends at okay, so the game with the number one matchup with AFCON is over. Birmingham and Derby right now going on, and then you have 3, 6, 9 matches at 10 o'clock, and Wrexham Sheffield United is at 12:30. Wrexham is at home at the race course, and they are a plus 210 hosting Sheffield United, who is a plus 125. And so then today and Monday is when it goes with the championship. So just to let you know how insane things are in the championship and how much that race to the top is and how crowded it is. Coventry 6 points clear of everybody, and they're close to the halfway point themselves. Middlesbrough right now is at 42 points. Then there's a 5-point gap to Ipswich and Hull, who are at 37 points each. So if we go from 3rd to 13th, you're looking at 11 teams that are separated by 6 points. That gets you to 13th. Then Birmingham's in 14th. Wrexham is in 15th. So Tom Brady versus Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds right there at the 14-15. I think this season, if you're Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds, just stay in the league. You got hot at that one point, and now you've drawn 3 of your last 5. So right now, you're getting results. You're 6-10-6 after 22 matches. Just survive in the championship this year. Then fix things from there. Right now, if you go from 14th to 21st, it is 3, 6, 8 teams separated by 8 points. If you were to add Oxford United and Norwich, you'd have 14th to 23rd, 10 teams separated by 11 points. So that's how crazy it is right now. Literally, if you had a good week, if you were Blackburn in 20th, say, and you had a good week, you could be in you could be 11th, basically. So that sprint, nothing new is there. Oxford United has fired their coach. They've lost 3 of 4. They're starting to panic. Oxford United right now in the relegation zone at 19 points. Norwich, you want to talk about a team really in panic. If they go down, they're unbeaten in 3. And they're unbeaten in 4 of their last 5, but they're at 18 points. They've had to do this to get to next to last. And then Sheffield Wednesday, obviously, they've lost 4 of 5. They only have 1 point in their last 5 matches. It looks like there is now a preferred bidder that has been appointed by Begbie's trainer, the administrator for the Sheffield Wednesday accounts. And so now you have that exclusive negotiating window and try to figure out, okay, what's going on with Sheffield Wednesday? We now have a preferred bidder, and so that's the next stage there. They're at minus 9 points, by the way. They have an 18-point federation deduction. Be at 9 points, but they have an 18-point deduction. They have won once in 21, and they have lost 14. They have scored 16 in 21 matches. At least that's better average than Wolves. And then they've given up 43, so they are slightly worse in goal difference, a little over 2 per allowed, 43 goals allowed, 16 scored. Minus 27, you're minus 9 points right now in the championship. So that's what you're staring at. That's how crazy the championship is, and it's going to get crazier. But I just wanted to let you know about how the things are currently in the championship. So in AFCON, we'll go back and look at the first match of the day. Don't want to know about that one yet at 10 o'clock. It really hasn't changed. Egypt is still a favorite at a plus 102, coming up once again, top of the hour. So AFCON to 1 draw. Really doesn't help out anybody when it comes to standings. And so it is the first match of match day 2, and it is in Group B. And so Angola and Zimbabwe, after 2 matches, still at 1 point. South Africa and Egypt coming up in just a little bit. They're both at 3 points. So this one could go one of 2 ways. If this one ends up with a draw, once again, that margin is 3 points. If someone wins this one outright in Group B, then someone sets that marker that everybody's going to have to go chase. Remember, it is the top 2 teams in each group that advance. And then you end up with the top 4 third-place teams that get to the round of 16. And then that's your knockouts from there. So right now it would be Zambia, Zimbabwe with 1 point. Tanzania, Equatorial Guinea would be the others. But once again, very, very early in that process. So the tail end of Group B is your matchup today at 10 o'clock. And then Group A takes over 12:30 and at 2. So that's what you're staring at. Quick news once again on the championship. Stephen Goff reporting Patrick Ajimong, 5th goal in 9 matches. 27th minute header. 6th overall. Derby County was down to 10, got a 1-1 draw with Birmingham City. So Tom Brady has another reason to be mad. So it looks like a healthy Big Pat is doing really well a healthy Big Pat is doing well over at Derby County. All right, so I meant to get into the Manchester City thing, and I wanted to just briefly get into that. We'll get into it deeper on the Roots this weekend. This weekend on the Roots, we travel to, powered by our friends at Nofo Brewing, we travel to Costa Rica. We travel to France to go on the Coupe de France and talk about just how off the rails it can get and how it has gotten. And we go to Norway to talk about commemorative, and we go to Turkey and we find out just what it's like not to get paid in the second tier. And so that's going to be on the Roots this weekend, powered by our friends at Nofo Brewing. I don't know if you saw this morning, but it appears that City Football Group has divested itself from Mumbai City Football Club, and that's a part of their full rundown of clubs. And City Football Group has divested themselves from Mumbai City. And it was confirmed by the club this morning. Divested its shareholding in the club. Founding owners will control the club fully moving forward. And this comes from uncertainty over the future of Indian domestic football with their top tier and their second tier leagues, the Indian Super League and the I-League, failing to find any bidders. Now, once again, we'll get into this in a second. So Mumbai City is in the ISL top tier, being administered to, and they had been since 2019 by City Football Group. They own Manchester City, Melbourne City, NYCFC, etc. So Mumbai City just says like 2 sentences. Then it goes, once again, since 2019, Mumbai City had won 2 ISL top tier supporter shields. So they got 2 pie plates since 2019, 2 cup titles, and once again, adding to the growth of the game in India. And so the quote, the statement continues, CFG's made the decision following a comprehensive commercial review and in light of ongoing uncertainty surrounding the future of the top tier, the Indian Super League. And so here's the history lesson that's attached to this. It goes back to 2015, really. So since the end of the domestic league back in May, India football's been in kind of a holding pattern. They really don't know what they're going to be doing for this year's domestic campaign. It was supposed to start the 3rd week of September. Top tier was supposed to start September or the 1st week of October, but it's already December, and they don't know when the league's going to start. Started back in 2014, and it was a sprint basically in 2 months as they were getting teams online. Until 2017, they get to 10 teams, and then you get more matches in competition. So top division of football in 1920, and then the AFC Champions League group stage slot formerly handed over to the ISL. IMG entered into a marketing deal back in 2010. 15-year deal under which they would pay the All India Football Federation flat fee, and then they would run. IMG leaves their partnership, and Reliance ends up taking over, honored the contract. They form a subsidiary, basically, that just runs so Reliance basically said, okay, IMG, you're leaving, we'll take over. We'll form a subsidiary, and we'll run the thing with that subsidiary. Remember, I talk about MCOs and subsidiaries. So the deal expired to run the league by Reliance and the subsidiary almost 3 weeks ago. And the subsidiary for Reliance has said, we're not renewing the deal. We're done. We're out. They offered an alternative deal that would minimize their costs, but the federation, the All India Football Federation, said, "Nah, we're good. We want it run like it was the old way. Reliance and their subsidiary, we'll do it this way." I'm guessing it probably has to do with something less expensive, working on the bottom line. All India was like, nah, it's okay. And so now that All India doesn't have a marketing partner, they don't have a start date. And so you now have teams that are in the India Super League that are playing in regional competitions, Champions Leagues and such, with no home league to report to. FC Goa is the example that came across our bow the other day. Like I said, we'll get into this a little deeper in the roots coming up this weekend. But the All India Federation, since they can't conduct a first-tier league or a second-tier league, you now have the third tier, the second tier, the championship, and the first tier. They're all stakeholders. No one. Sports Ministry of the country had a meeting with all the stakeholders back on December 3rd, and they couldn't come up with a consensus, understandably so, with all of the different voices in the room. So all ISL teams, in a recent report, according to the Sporting News, have proposed to pay a flat fee to the federation in exchange to operate, manage, and this is the term in quotation marks, and I imagine that once again, the wording used has a different connotation in India than it does with us here in the States. Operate, manage, and commercially exploit India's top-tier professional football league. But they don't want to pay a fee for this year, considering this year is supposedly already started. They want to start paying a fee next year. All of the top-tier teams have agreed to the proposal, except for one. And so now the league has been assured that it will start within 40 days have been completed. But then it's got to go to a vote with the executive committee. After every franchise signs on, it's got to go to the executive committee. And so then this is going to be taken up, supposed to be taken up at the annual general meeting, and that is supposed to be tomorrow. So you can kind of understand why City Football Group was kind of like, no, we're good. So you literally had all of this stuff going on all the way through this year. Proposals set back in March, as far back as March, to get things rolling. But nothing is going on so far. So now you can understand why the Supreme Court had wanted a timely start to the 25-26 season. And there yet. So like I said, we'll get into this a little deeper when we get into the roots this weekend. But I just wanted to, you're sitting there and you're going, why is City Football Group divesting itself from one of their clubs? Now you know why. And apparently also, according to our friends at The Guardian, this comes from our friend Matt Hughes, the Premier League and the Championship are holding talks over ending the Saturday 3 p.m. blackout. So the 10 o'clock games that we get to see in the United States, it looks like there's going to be a discussion about wiping out that blackout in that time period, 3 p.m. Once again, because you have all of the leagues that want to sell all of the games because they're viewing it as an opportunity to obviously increase revenue, and you're expected to have that 3 p.m/10 a.m. window overseas up for auction for the TV rights expected for 20. According to Hughes, the UK is the last country in Europe to apply that 3 p.m. blackout. So like I said, all the games that we get to see either on Goal Rush or whatever, or on Paramount Plus in the Championship, League One, League Two, England doesn't get to see that within its own borders. Paramount Plus is probably paid a premium, say that 10 times fast, and you know that Comcast, NBC has. But now you have the Premier League and the Championship wanting to sell all the games in the next cycle. But they got to get this squared away. respectively showing a record 270 and 1,059 of their matches on domestic TV this season. Mostly on Sky, concluded selling every game is the only way to bring in more revenue. So obviously, with that one window that's available, then okay, let's go ahead and just, Katie bar the door, open everything up, and we'll go ahead and finally do it. Contracts don't expire till the end of the 28-29 season. EFL wants to go to market at the start of 27, and so they need to have a market price. Premier League auction is expected to take place later in the 27 calendar year. EFL's deal with Sky, worth just under $1 billion, £1 billion over a 5-year period, giving them the exclusive live rights to 1,059 games, Championship, League One, League Two, Carabao Cup, Gummy Bear Cup, EFL Trophy. And this would make all 1,891 matches available if it reaches the agreements. Please hold. I'm going to try and silence a dog briefly here quickly. As you can tell, it's not working. Trying to summon a dog. You'll excuse me. Rowdy man. Hey. He's doing a really good job of guarding the hotel. I will say that. There we go. Okay. Good job. You've guarded successfully. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yes. Yeah, they got I'm really self-conscious about this kind of stuff. And he's like 3 feet off to my left. He was over at the door, and now he's back in his bed. So we'll see. Hey, sir, calm down. Thank you. All right. So now back to our story. Okay. Once again, our buddy Nino Torres joining us in about 10 minutes. So Premier League wants to sell every game because you could open up markets in Europe. They want to open Africa and Asia. Domestic deal worth £6.7 billion over 4 years. So that's what? 1.7-ish. League added an extra year to the contract to increase the number of games by about 20%, 25%. So the real terms value declined. You added games, kept the price. And so that means that more games were allowed. Price was the same. So that way your average price is decreased by about 25%. So the Premier League clubs, the American owners, have been pushing to broadcast all of these games for a while. Article 48 of the UEFA statutes. I didn't know we were going to be quoting UEFA statutes this morning. Under which a transmission can be prohibited for 2.5 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday, applies in English leagues context when 50% of the Premier League is scheduled for Saturday at 3 o'clock. So you're opening up 50% more of your matches. You're opening up your entire schedule. Article 48 enforced in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. In the event of Article 48 no longer applying in England, 3 p.m. Premier League kickoffs will be broadcast across the UK, which could have a negative effect on attendances. Now, what I'm going to do here, so that was Matt's, I think that was Matt's rub. Premier League attendance. Let's go to Premier League attendance real quick as I sit here and smash the caps only function. All right, so let's look at percentage of capacity 2024. All right, so let's take a look at the Premier League attendance figures for the 23-24 season, or we could do it this way. So let's, whatever we end up with. So I just want to check and see what the attendance figures are. So, all right, so capacity of, all right, so 25. Let's go back a season because this year, you're kind of looking at what's going on. So if we go by a full calendar and look at everything. So Old Trafford had over 1 million spectators, capacity of 74.8. They averaged 73.8. So 1,000 over 74, that's not a lot. West Ham, remember we talked about the West Ham story, especially next year. West Ham basically sold out. They were second in attendance last year. At 62,407, they only had, on average, 93 seats available for West Ham games for the 19 games that were at home. Spurs, 62.8 capacity, average 61.1. Liverpool, 61,002, average of 60,468. So 800-ish seats left available for every game at Anfield. Arsenal was fifth, 60,704. They had 500 seats available per match. The Etihad, Manchester City, 55,097. They averaged 53,576. They also had over 1 million fans in 19 games. So that's what? 1,004. You're about 1,500 seats left for every Manchester City game. St. James Park had about 70 seats available. Villa Park had 1,120, 1,140 available. Stamford Bridge in Chelsea had, 13, 200. So you had 640 seats available at Stamford Bridge. For Everton last season, it was a transitional year, leaving their old stadium and head docks, so they had about 75% capacity. Amex, Brighton at 11 had about 400 seats available. Leicester had about 1,000 seats available. Southampton had about 1,500 seats available. You see where I'm going here. Molineux for Wolves even had 1,000 seats available. Forest had 300 seats available. Ipswich had 300 seats available. And this is in the thousands of seats. So the concern, and look, the Vitality seats 11,307. They only had 93 seats available, or 107 seats available. The teams that were going down, that went down after last year, were Southampton, who was 13th in capacity and in gross people walking through the door. Ipswich was 16th. Leicester was 12th. 800 seats available for Leicester City. And for Ipswich, once again, it was 252, so about 300 seats available. And for Southampton, it was about 1,500 seats available. So I think that's a faulty theory. The concern that is going to hurt attendances, I don't quite think that's going to fly. Because all you've got to do, and like I said, this is last year, and I looked at Transfermarkt. So you had the only place where it was really wild was Everton, because they were in a transitional year from one stadium to the other, and you had capacity issues and things like that. So that was the only team with a 52,000 seat capacity, averaging 39, but that was because of external factors. It wasn't because of how the team was performing. So I think that the last line in here, in this article by Matt Hughes, in the event of Article 48 no longer applying in England, 3 p.m. Premier League kickoffs will be broadcast across the UK, which could have negative effect on attendances. I don't quite think that I think that the Premier League, I think the EFL might be an issue, but I think the Premier League in and of itself is like the NFL is here in the United States. I think that the Premier League is fairly bulletproof when it comes to their attendances and their TV windows. Because if you look at the National Football League, you know what those attendance figures are. That does not get affected. You're going to go to those games. If you're a fan of those teams, you're going to go to those games. I don't think you're going to sit here and go, yeah, I'm not going to go. I'm going to chill and watch it on TV. I don't think that the England soccer fan of a Premier League side or for a championship side that's going to be promoted is wired in that way. And this is something that you run into in a lot of sports. Doesn't matter what level it is. You still have those individuals that don't want to have revenue taken away from them because they feel that if television walks in the door, then they're going to be hurting the bottom line. I think that the more that you look into this in your situations, I think that the further away from that, if you believe in your product on a local basis, if you believe in your product, then you won't have to worry about the product if you were to open the door to television. And the Premier League and the Championship, they have that one window left. They've got that one window left. the 3P 10A to us. So that 10 a.m. window that we get to watch every single week because we're not in England. That's that last window. That's the last frontier of TV negotiations. And that's what you're looking at right now for this new window coming up, 27 and beyond. Where can the Premier League and the Championship make that much more money? And the EFL, technically. It's in that last 10 a.m. window, the 3 p.m. window. So keep an eye on that negotiation, not just this year, but down the line. Will England football go into that frontier? That, to me, is, are they going to go into that last opening? Are they going to sit there and pull back the curtain that one final time? I think they might. I think they legitimately might. Quick news out of Tormenta this morning. Andrew Booth has been signed after a season and a half at FC Tulsa. Booth started his career in 2020 with Greenville Triumph, was with FC Tulsa. Tormenta Stadium's first match, by the way, Sunday, March the 8th against Spokane Velocity. So we are literally 2.5 months away from the beginning of the season in the USL and USL League One. So Tormenta Media alert. They have signed players. They are signing players, but they have signed a player this morning in Andrew Booth, who returns to USL League One from his time in Tulsa. All right, really quickly, let me get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And what you do is you get into Fanatis, and you truly do go to the extremes of the planet, and you get to watch anything and everything going on. And if you go into Fanatis, you can catch AFCON, which is going to be going on match day 2, second match of match day 2 coming up in a couple of minutes with Egypt and South Africa. So here's what to watch today. BN en Español simulcasting the 4 matches of AFCON. We talked about that. Also with Fanatis, you get Teise, CDO, Nuestra Tele, For the Fans, Liga 1 Max Pro. We'll get into that discussion with our buddy Nino Torres coming up in a bit. You have Tigo Sports show up occasionally. You have CATV show up occasionally. English Championship on CBS Sports Network, Stoke City and Preston North End. That comes up at 10 o'clock. Everybody else is going on in the championship over at Paramount Plus. The league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote comes up at 12:30 on FS2. USA has Manchester United and Newcastle. ESPN Plus has the A-League at 3:30 this morning. Fox Big O&E has Serie B coming up at 11:15. And the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote coming up at 12:30. Fox Soccer 15, NBCSports.com, Manchester United and Newcastle's at 3 o'clock. Then you have the English Championship. You had Millwall and Ipswich actually start at 8. 3, 6, 7 matches at 10 o'clock. And then Wrexham and Sheffield United at 12:30. League 1 at 10 o'clock. Stockport County, Lincoln City. League 2, Chesterfield and Notts County is at 10 a.m. Tomorrow, just to give you an idea, BN and AFCON, 4 matches. Once again, another match day. We'll get into the juice boxes at the end of the show. Doubleheader from CBS Sports Network in the Premiership. Hibs and Hearts at 7:30. Livingston and Celtic at 10. Celtic needs a win. They probably could get it against Livingston, who's trying to get out of the bottom and stay out of the split. Serie A doubleheader, noon and 2:45. FS2 has the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote into a doubleheader, 10 and 12:30. Chelsea and Villas on NBC at 12:30. NBCSN, Liverpool and Wolves at 10. USA, Forest and Manchester City. Arsenal and Brighton is at 10. BN en Español simulcasting once again. Fox Deportes, triple header. Serie A, 6:30, 9 and noon. Honduran Liga Nacional at 8 o'clock. Universo is simulcasting Premier League matches. ESPN Plus is the A-League. Fox O&E has Serie A, Serie B, and the league we don't talk about. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, triple header. NBCSports.com, 2 matches from the Premier League, 1 at 7:30, 1 at 10. Paramount Plus, Serie A, 5 matches available starting 6:30 in the morning. Scottish Premiership, Livingston and Celtic at 10. Aberdeen and Dundee at 12. Dundee United at 12:45. Peacock, 5 matches, 4 at 10, 1 at 12:30. And on the women's side, the A-League is on at 12:45, 1 a.m., and 2 a.m. Sunday, it is AFCON. It is Premier League. It is being simulcasting AFCON. Fox Deportes has Serie A. Telemundo has the Premier League. A-League at 3 a.m. Fox O&E, Serie A. And Premier League doubleheader, 9/11/30, Paramount Plus Serie A, and the women at 10 a.m. You will excuse me, please, for a moment while I mute us once again and try to calm down a dog. He's doing a great job guarding. Get in your bed. Get in your bed. Get in your bed. This is what we're doing the day after Christmas. The boss is making sure that folks get everything that they can here and making sure that everything that is supposed to be where it is supposed to be before we leave Montgomery and head home is in those places. But the crazy thing is, and I would turn the camera around if I could, but it's just crazy foggy here this morning in Montgomery. So it's really wild. So we will see what is going on and see if the fog improves so the boss can do her thing and she can make sure that she gets from point A to point B. It is after 10 o'clock, which means one thing, which means that we go from a hotel room in Montgomery, Alabama to Lima, Peru. We find out what's going on with our buddy Nino Torres and Nino Damas, dropping knowledge. Yellow on a Friday. How are you, sir?
Yellow. Soccer down here, fans. Nino Torres with you in a Friday, fully loaded Friday, baby. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
And we're matching, brother. Huh? We're men in black today. Huh? Nice.
You got it. Yeah. For me specifically, and let me step back here a second. I'm crammed into a hotel room, so you'll pardon me.
All right. Let me see.
So, minor league baseball, the Rome Emperors, and you see how the penguin is kind of dressed like an emperor. He's got the Rome
so cool, man.
Yep, the Rome Emperors. At Ebbets Field Flannels had a sale, and so I was like, I'm diving in on that ish. When it goes like 73% off, including shipping, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm buying all that stuff. And so, Man in Black, Man in Black, and we're rocking and rolling here this morning. And I thank you for coming in on a Friday. What about next week with it being New Year's? Do you want to do Wednesday or Friday? Your call. You want to do New Year's Eve day, or you want to see everybody?
No, we'll start the new year, man. We'll start New Year, brother.
All right,
Friday.
Okay, so
Friday,
you'll be
man. Yeah, 2026.
All right, so you'll be Friday at 10 again next week because of holidays. Okay, so as is always the case, Nino Damas sends me notes that I don't look at, so that way we can all react together. And so I scroll down, and I see that he has sent me things. And so it is the 2025 year in review of each league that he calls on GOLTV. And it's always fun to catch him on GOLTV because we can have conversations with him while he's calling games on GOLTV, which is always fun.
The home improvement thing, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like that?
I love that. Yeah, it's like get that workbench and get it rolling. So topic number one, the Renaissance. I feel like I should straighten up when I say the Renaissance of Porto. What was this big story with Porto this year? We know it, but when you break down the Renaissance, what was it like to be in front of it?
It was so exciting to have the third big team in competition again, because for the past, I'm gonna say 3 years, it was that they were going down the hill. Every year it was getting worse and worse and worse. Then they got Anselmi, and Anselmi he could never translate all his knowledge. I mean, it was they were lost in translation in some way, somehow, that the message never landed in the right place, in the right minds. And of course, the defense was deteriorating year after year after year. And it got worse when after Pepe retired. After Pepe retires, that defense was like, where's the leader? Oh, do we have a general here? No, we don't have the only soldiers, bro. We need a general here. We need a quarterback here. Where are they at? All right. So Vilas Boas said, you know what? Martin Anselmi, thank you for your services. Yeah, we We expecting something else from you in the World Cup of Clubs, and it was a disaster. Of course, that didn't help at all with them. And then they went to get Farioli, right? Went ahead and got Farioli, signed him from Ajax, and then they got the two. I want to say the two best signings in the league this year are the two center backs from Porto. You know, Bednarek and Kivior.
Mm-hmm.
They've been, as I nickname them, they're the Polish cyborgs. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, are these guys human? Do they feel anything? Huh? Because they're so cold-blooded, you cannot believe these guys how focused they are. Like they're cyborgs, man. They're just cyborgs. They don't sweat. I don't know, but they make a big impact in Portugal, considering only 3 goals in the first 15 rounds of the competition. That says it all. So they went. It was a massive renaissance, and I was shocked when I read all the previews while I was doing the prep time for the first round of the competition. And I was all the journalists from Europe were like, who do you think is going to win the next year? Porto was like, what am I missing here? Am I missing something? Did I just watch a different World Cup of Clubs, or what happened here? And that happened. You know, those signings, the coach, everything lined up perfectly for the Dragons, and now we can see him leading. You know, they're 5 points away. They're going to play again. They play against Estrella Amadora. They're going to put the bottom 3. So they're going to basically be the winners of the champion, the winner champions, right? They're not going to winter champions in Portugal. And like I said last week, you know, it's over. I think whoever's leading in Portugal, they should stay in the lead. Once the number 1 team gets the number 1 spot, it's over. There's no looking back.
The Polish Terminators.
Yeah.
Kivior and Bednarek, who come over from the Premier League, and Porto picks them up, and they're just locking. They have no feelings, they have no pity, and they absolutely will not stop. I was trying to remember the line from the movie The Terminator when Kyle was talking to Michael Bihn's talking to Linda Hamilton, and he's trying to explain what Terminators are, and it's like
right.
They have no feelings. They absolutely will not stop.
Yeah.
So you have 2 T1000s at the back.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm going to hang on to that. Okay, so we now go to Uruguay.
Yeah.
Topic number 2. And like I said, I'm seeing this for the first time. That's the fun of this segment. Nacional from 0 to hero in Uruguay. Break that down for us in 25.
So for all the fans here from Soccer Down here, I don't know if you guys know how the Uruguayan championship works, because in any other country in the planet, if there's 3 tournaments and you don't win any of the 3, why would you win anything, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? Of course not. You know, I won the first round. No, you didn't win that one. Oh, I didn't win that one. Oh, but I won the championship. How does that happen? All right, so
here's how it happened. Here's how it happened. You went into a business office.
Yeah.
And you sat there and you went, well, what about us? And you come out with a trophy. Please explain.
No, but that's in Argentina, brother. That's a different one.
That was a country.
That's in Argentina. That's a different story. But that's another story of the year that we should talk about that too. But no, in Uruguay. So basically in Uruguay, the system is designed to get as many clásicos as they can, right? So it's designed for that specifically. We need how many clásicos? We got 5. No, we need 7. We need 7. Figured it out a way to get 7 clásicos out of the year between Peñarol and Nacional. All right, let's do this. All right. So in Uruguay, the system works like this. There's 3 tournaments, right? Apertura, Intermedio, and Clausura.
Intermedio.
And also, there's also the annual table. So basically, it's like the 4th tournament or something, or the wild card tournament. I don't know, whatever.
Oh,
all right. So if you win the Apertura, right, it doesn't guarantee you're going to be winning the championship. If you win the Intermedio, the only thing that guarantees you is that you're going to play the Super Copa, which is the winner of the Intermedio and the winner of the year. Okay? Just stay with me, guys. Stay with me.
All
And
right.
then there's the clausura. There's the third tournament of the season. All right. So if for some reason that I never witnessed that situation where one team wins the apertura, the intermedio, the clausura, and the annual table, there's no playoffs, no nothing. But of course, that's delusional to believe that that's going to happen. But, so Peñarol wins the apertura in fantastic fashion. Then wins the no, I'm sorry. Liverpool wins the apertura, and then Peñarol wins the intermedio and the clausura. All right, so Peñarol wins two tournaments, should be the winner now, because at the end of the year, some way somehow Nacional managed to get more points than Peñarol. All right, so not only that, so because Nacional didn't win any of the tournaments, had to play a playoff against Liverpool. They beat Liverpool, and then they beat Peñarol in the finals, and that's why Nacional, without winning anything in the year, gets the trophy in Uruguay. It doesn't make any sense, but in some way, somehow it does, because they got clásicos. They got two more clásicos out of the year, out of the season, and that's the main goal. That's the main goal, basically, in Uruguay. You know.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's the best way I can phrase it. All right. So we go from Uruguay to Universitario. The Band of Brothers did it again. Copa America, and this is subplot. Copa America in the U.S. again. That's topic number 4. So anyway, Universitario, the Band of Brothers did it again.
This is crazy, right? Because this is a team that a few years ago, what's that? 2018, 2019 season were probably the worst years of Universitario in this millennium, and they almost got relegated, but they pulled it off and they sustained, and then they survived, right? And then they have to witness Alianza winning back-to-back titles, 2021, 2022, and but we weren't there. No, we were there. Just all right. Let him be. Let him celebrate. So the year that we're supposed to win the three-peat, that was in 2023, when Universitario came so strong with Fossati. You know, we didn't hire superstars. No, we didn't hire superstars. No, we only got a few signings. We got a good coach, and we ruined their three-peat. So not three-peat for Alianza. Then the next year, we lose the coach. We lost the coach because he went to the national team. It was a disaster for him, for Fossati, in the national team. Didn't win a single game. And we got another coach, Fabian Bustos, who wins the tournament. But then he left. Then he left us too. I don't know, man. I don't know how after you win in a championship, you leave the club. And then they get another coach, wins the championship. Oh, sorry, I got another offer from Olympia Paraguay. I'm going to go to Olympia because they offer me, I don't know how many, 5,000 or 50,000 or whatever $1,000 more than here. Okay, so we got back Fossati for this year. And in those 3 years, Johnny, we never make a big splash in signings for the league. Never. So it was just the collective effort. Like I mentioned, is the Band of Brothers all together, everyone and everything focused on one goal and one goal only in the three-peat. And they got it done in a month. I mean, a month. It was a month before of the tournament when we started won the championship, right? With 2 games on hand. Then Alianza Lima and Cristal got to play the playoffs, which they lost. Alianza and Cristal not in the no Peru too in the Copa Libertadores FC. The team that's going with Universitario Deportes to a group stage, and everything I'm gonna say the asset for this team, it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood, shoulder to shoulder. You know, they're rubbing elbows, and that's the only way that they win the championships, because the Universitario is not. You don't see a team that is brilliant, all right? You don't see a team that is, fantastic. No. They stay together, they got the job done, and go figure it out how to score a goal on them. All right, that's the only way that they do it, and it's in the DNA of Universitario de Deportes. We are blue collar people, brother. We are, hard workers. We got the wrenches and we got the titles, and we got most titles than everyone else in this country, man. That's the only way that we know.
Well, and looking at your contract decisions, Churin, Britos, and Costa are out of contract, so they're out the door.
Yeah, they're
gone. Churin is 36, Britos is 37, Gabriel Costa is 35. They're out the door, out of contract. See you later. Don't want to be you. You have only three. You have only 3 other contracts that are out at the end of this season: Jairo Velez, Ahmet Calderon, and Jefferson Rodriguez. So it's 2 keepers and an attacking mid, and that's it for contracts that end in 5 days. That's it.
That's it. They already guaranteed all the rest of the roster. They already signed the renewals. Everybody said basically we have the same group of players for the next year, and we're trying to figure it out now. It's crazy because in this silly season, how do they keep those names behind doors, behind closed doors, behind locked doors? Because media is asking, there's this name and that name. Yeah, no, that one is not coming. No, that one is not coming. That one's not. This is crazy because any other team like Sporting Cristal and Alianza Lima, oh yeah, we signed this guy. They already got like 7 or 8 players each team to try to stop Universitario from winning 4 in a row. Okay. Because if this is the big story of the year in the Liga 1 Peru, in the professional era, there's no team that has won the title 4 years in a row, and that's the big goal of next year, to be the only team in the entire league to win 4 in a row. And they're going after for it.
Well, and there's a player that our MLS audience might remember, in Andy Polo, who is
Andy Polo, yeah, from Portland.
And so Andy Polo is a part of this, but I think really your decisions come next season, this time next year, because it looks like there are 13 players who have a contract decision
at the end of the
next year.
Right.
And so you're looking at Calcaterra, Corzo, Andy Polo, Martin Perez Guedes, Urena, Vargas, Rivera, Murugarra, Concha, Ankajima, Valera, Astudillo, Guzman, Dioses, and Rengifo, who are all
those last 3, they're academy players.
Okay, so 17, 20, and 18. So basically, it's 10 who are not academy, or Astudillo is an academy player at the age of 20, so he's probably maxing out. So you've got like 9 dudes who are above the age of 22 that you got to think about next year, and 4 academy guys that you got to think about at the end of next year.
Right.
See, transfer market, it's a beautiful thing.
There you go. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it.
Laying it all out. Okay, so America in the U.S. again. Yeah, it's probably going to happen. We were looking at it last time. It was a blast to have it here. I'm not going to lie. It was a blast to have it here, but it might be just because of stability, just when it comes to venues and being able to churn something out and then have just the number of joints that you can have available to you. And it's probably coming to the U.S. again. You mentioned this one too.
Yeah, and it's gonna, if it comes, it's gonna be the same year of the Olympics, man. The Olympics and the Copa America at the same time. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I've loved the competitions in the US. It's just, it's fantastic. But I think, they got big stadiums. We got stadiums in Brazil, in Argentina, in Chile, in Colombia, even here in Peru. All these countries are perfectly capable of hosting a Copa Americas, which we've been doing for like forever, and only in this millennium is when the looks turn around and see the U.S. and look at that, look at that arena in Atlanta, look at that Levi's Stadium, look at that, and how many people can fit in here? Oh yeah, so if you go to Brazil, not Brazil, let's see Peru.
Yeah,
you got to go to Peru. You got only the Nacional and the And the Monumental, you got 80,000 seats, and you got 50,000 seats on the other one, but that's it. You don't have another venue with over 50,000 people, which in the case of the US, I understand, I get it. It's from the business standpoint, it's obviously a win-win.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, all the fans, all the tourism that comes to the to the country and everything else. But it's ours, man. You know, it's CONMEBOL. It's South America, and it's a different story when you let's go to, I don't know, Ecuador, right? Ecuador, Copa America. When was the last time? Freaking 1993. That was the last time that Ecuador hosted a Copa America. They got brand spanking new stadiums now, also in Ecuador. They do it in Ecuador. I'm just throwing a name right now, a country, but it's a different story. It's a different vibe. You know, it's local. It's local. It feels like it's our tournament, not like that we're gonna be the the visitors in our tournament. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing that it gets me, you know. It gets me, but and plus, how many Copa Americas is going to be the third one, right?
I think so. Yeah, this would be
number 3.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
What in what, in a decade? In a decade, you got 3 Copa Americas in a decade. That's come on, man. That's a little too much. Huh?
Well, but let me present a theory. You can bring the helicopters in that are painted black as you wish. You can, you know, that noise you hear behind me are those helicopters that are coming in. I think it might have to do with this one dude and the fact that he plays for Argentina currently, and the fact that he plays in Major League Soccer currently. I would posit, I would sit here and, you know, put the thinking cap on that once this gentleman's playing time is through, unless you end up with yet another individual that is as impactful as he is, it's going to be a while before the Copa America comes back to the United States. And so what you're probably doing is maxing out the corporate ability of maxing things out financially. Woman who is okay at the soccering based in your country. And so, I mean, unless you, I mean, who could be, you know, who could be that next generational talent that could bring the Copa America back once he retires? I don't know who that placeholder is. I don't know who that next dude is. So you're going into this new frontier known as, you know, the United States to obviously get more dollars for both CONMEBOL and bring in the United States as a wild card. I don't know who that next dude is that in 5, 6, 7 years, when Lionel Messi is playing at Newell's when he's 45, I don't know who that next dude is that you can sit there and justify bringing the Copa America back to the United States. I want to sit there and go, hey, let's come back to the United States. I don't know who that next dude is.
There's no doubt. His star power is unmatched. His star power is just unmatched. Of course, you know, the other player that you know that you don't like, that's the only two dudes that they can do this. I mean, they can draw this kind of attention globally. All right, not talking about even from a confederation, but globally. There's none, and this is like I said before. In 2026 is going to be the last World Cup for these two kings, and we're going to miss him badly. We're going to miss him badly, and we are so fortunate to have lived in this era that they have no precedent, because before that there was only one king, and we've been living in a world of two kings for the past 10, 15 years. So it's gonna be a while. I don't know if we're gonna be around the next time that this situation happens in soccer, but it's the end of an era. If the end of an era in soccer, a glorious era.
Yeah, and so I would enjoy it for what it is, and just understand that there are a lot of folks that want to sit there and max out the economics of Messi. So I guess it's what, Messinomics or something like that. You know?
Messinomics, yeah.
You're maxing out the Messinomics of the situation. I get it. in Major League Soccer, and our buddy Niko Moreno is going to join us after, as always, in the Power Hour, because you both have aligned here on this Friday.
Now, Johnny, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this about the Messinomics and now, how does it feel now in the U.S. with Messi winning the title? You know,
think,
how did it? Were you expecting it? All right, it came earlier than that. We finished.
I mean, I
what do you
think
feel?
that I think that what you've got, you have two camps. And you have, I think you got that group of folks that basically sat there and said, well, what took you so long?
Yeah.
And well, first off, you're in a cap
Yes.
league, and you've got to be imaginative as to how you want to administer things. And so you were looking for and here our dear friend Abby, who is one of our A-listers. Those of us in ATL are not happy. I mean, it's Eastern Conference, because and that's why she refers to it as someone who is from South Florida. She refers to it as Inter Fort Lauderdale, because they're not even in Miami. They're in Fort Lauderdale up at the Erector set. So she refers to it as Inter Fort Lauderdale, whereas, we kind of refer to it as Messi and Friends, because that's what it is. I think it took them, they were looking happened by the end of this contract, and I think they got it in just under the wire. He signs the renewal to go into the new building to usher in this new era of Messi and Friends, when it's just and Friends, and then you try to figure out who else you're bringing in for this next wave of Major League Soccer. You've got that group of folks that wear the pink number 10s around the country. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter who you're attached to, but you're attached to Dude. You are attached to Messi. You are a part of Messinomics. And then you have everybody who are sitting there, and much like Abby, who are going, she's tired of the league catering to Messi and Friends. They've gotten extra advantages more than any other team. So that is, you have those two trains of thought where everybody is embracing the pink number 10, and then the idea that Messi and Friends are getting
away with too much.
they're getting off. So you have the Gulfstream Galacticos coming together the way that they have. And I give Rolson Leahy in the front office all the credit in the world. I think you've challenged Major League Soccer to figure out ways to bring in this kind of talent and sit there and go, okay, we want you to go this way, or you can go this way and spend money and try and be competitive and bring folks in from around the planet to try and match what is going on in a salary cap era, or you can go about it a different way. And if you're comfortable in your own skin and not freaked out by how the Moss brothers are trying to spend all this money and win all these titles by spending all this money, that's where you're at, and it's like, so you do have folks that are embracing Messinomics, and folks that can't wait to see them fall on their face, like what happened in Open Cup when Nashville came up and bid them, and they didn't get that title. You've got as many ha as there are celebrating when one of the greatest stars of this or any generation and his friends win a title. Literally, you have split camps here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But I think the title came at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
It came at the right time for me. That's the timing. This could not be more perfect for him, man.
Because I mean, you're right toward the end of that first contract. Jordi Alba and Sergi Busquets, they are retiring. They're going out on that note. They're going off. You're bringing in Luis Suarez for another year. You've brought in Rodrigo de Paul. Looks like Lo Celso might be next on the list as another one of those big guns that you bring in on a free to try and continue the cycling of all of these big names and all these gears going forward. But for me, the question will always be, when it comes to Messinomics, coin this term, we can carry this forward. What happens when he finally does go? Who is that next big dude that the Moss brothers try to bring in to match the competitive successes that Messi and Friends have had? Who is that next big dude who's, north of 30, unless you really want to spend money and turn it into some kind of a deal that Major League Soccer has never seen of one of the late dudes in their mid to late 20s. You bring in a true stud, then have them there for 5 or 6 years. Who's that next dude north of 30 that you got at the twilight of their gig that you bring in and sit there, and that they're fantastic now, but then they come to Major League Soccer and boost them again? Who's that next dude? That's how do you continue when Alba, Busquets, Messi, Suarez, all of them are gone? How do you come up with your encore? Do you turn into Airplane 2, which was an awful movie, or do you go Rocky 2 and have Rocky beat Apollo finally? What does it look like in Fort Lauderdale? What does it look like for Messi and friends when it's not Messi anymore and it's just the friends? That to me is the big question.
It's going to be a long transition, brother. I'm telling you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a long transition before they find another way of doing things in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I know the Bacon has lots of connections, but it's who is eager to you know what? I'm done playing in Europe. I'm gonna go to Miami, but should I go to Saudi Arabia? They offer me 50 mil a year. How much money are you offering me?
Well,
how much money can you put on the table? Actually,
that's the thing, is it's got to be one of these NIL deals plus contract where Messi gets paid, I think, 22. And then with endorsements, it gets to 50 because it's a piece of the action, because it's a piece of Apple and the TV deal and all these endorsements that the league sit there and say, yeah, we're not going to touch that. Whatever you get in endorsements, that's cool. League can pay you whatever they want. Team can pay you whatever they want. You're a designated player. You fit this way in the cap. The team can pay you whatever they want. Then you can get all these endorsements and do whatever you want. I mean, the NWSL is facing this right now in women's soccer right now. They're facing that with Trinity Rodman right now about this kind of a watershed moment. Where do you go? Who is comfortable enough in their own skin to where you can pay them 20, but then get those endorsement deals to get you to that Messi level of 50? That's the next.
There's no other player right now that they have that leverage, and then that leverage and that is meant to the basics. I don't think that anyone, what Europe, that's a company can handle those kind of deals, and even in many players no to Di Maria. Di Maria said no to them. They put an offer. Oh, go ahead and put an astronomical offer. They're gonna say no. As you put the astronomical offer, and like, oh yeah, we can pay you that. Oh, yeah, no, and I'm not going. He went to Benfica. So the player shows the glory.
All right. What the hell's going on at GOLTV?
This Sunday, Braga versus Benfica is my last derby.
What?
His last derby.
What?
GOLTV is closing the operation January 1st.
Damn.
Yeah, we're closing. They lost their the bid for the TV rights in Uruguay, and with only one tournament left, it's not profitable anymore. So we're going to be closing down the operations in January 1st.
Okay, well, I would be putting expletives out here that would give us the E rating, but how can we help?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, you know, you've got a home. You know that you can bang on this door, and you know that we love you, and you know that you have the SDH. You can knock on the door and sit there and go, you know, dude, I'm bored. I got something to get off my chest. So, you know, this sucks.
I know.
Like I said, I've seen nothing printed about any of all.
There's nothing. I was going over and like, oh, there's nobody because I got the news December 1st.
Damn.
Yeah, because the VP of operations he made sure that it didn't happen like it happened last year when
Oh yeah.
they closed it here.
Yeah.
I mean, GOLTV didn't close. They closed their chapter here in Peru,
Mhm.
and that last year was like they told us 3 days prior.
Mm-hmm.
All right. By the way, what day is today? 26. On the 29th, we're done. What?
Because I remember that last year. Yeah.
And then thankfully and gratefully they made it work. You know, and we can get you to remote because we want to keep you. We cannot sustain the operation in Peru, but paying I don't know 50, 60 people here, but we can pay you,
Yeah.
right? But because we got the signal and everything else. But this time is different because they they don't have more soccer to show. It's like it is what it is. I don't know what's going to happen then with the Primera Liga. I don't know anything. I don't know who. You let me know what's going on in the US with the Primera Liga. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, so the VP called me December 1st. I just gotta give you a call, man, give you a heads up. I didn't want to happen like happened last year with you. And we're gonna give you a month in advance so you can prepare. You prepare yourself in some way somehow, right? It's better that a month than 3 days. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that's where we are now.
Okay. Well, obviously, A, that we think this sucks. B, we love you very much. And we will, we'll obviously we'll keep an ear out for everything up here. Let us know how we can help. Let us know if there's anything we can do. We'll help you out as best we can. But obviously, that with us here, you got a home and you can bang on the door anytime and sit there and do whatever. And that I love our conversations that we have. I love the fact that you can be here and help educate all of us on what's going on those places that you follow and that you call. Yeah, we need to do offline, and so we'll do that. We'll catch up, and we'll do the WhatsApp thing. It's like you and Jason have got me plugged into this whole WhatsApp thing like nobody's business now. So okay, well that sucks and a half. Obviously, we can follow you on socials, and that hasn't changed. Your socials haven't changed or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the man's a baking fool, and he's taunting me with all this chocolate that he has as Nino is baking things. So we'll catch up offline. Obviously, you can come back. Obviously, you can come back whenever. You can come back whenever the hell you want. But obviously, next Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, you're back. We'll start 26, and we'll start rolling. And we will kick some serious ass in 26. Just know that we love you very much, and we will catch up with you soon, my friend.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, guys, and happy New Year. We'll see you in 2026.
You
All right, take care, guys.
All right, you got it, brother. All right, so there goes Nino Torres, and so a hot change and a hot tag here. Oh, look at this! Where are you, Niko? Where is that?
Hey, what's going on, John? SDH family. We are downstairs just to make sure that we stay away from those sleeping bodies upstairs. Give them a little bit of space between my voice and their sleep because we were up late last night. So I'm sure they'll be sleeping. We ended up watching the new Avatar movie, and the 3 hours put us into midnight. So we're up late last night for sure.
Yeah, and I saw your notes about the holidays and everything, and yeah, make sure that everybody knows this time of year that you love them, and that was a timely message in more ways than one. Let everybody know you love them. Don't ever be afraid to tell everyone. No holding back. This is not the time for for guys like, of certain ages and vintages and upbringings to sit there and go, I'm not going to tell you how I feel. I'm not going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you that. Biggest thing is you got to let everybody know when you know, and don't ever sit there and be afraid, because one of the things that has, and this is probably more post Christmas before we get into Major League Soccer and all the movement. Your reminder yesterday on the 280 character app about making sure that you tell folks you love them. That to me, it resonates. And I make every opportunity with all of the folks that are close, whether it's blood or otherwise. You know how we wrap up every conversation that we have is that I tell you that I love you very much. I tell Nino that I love him very much. I tell everybody up here very much. And I'm not blowing smoke, because look, we've been at this, we've been in this business too blank and long, and you never know what's going on. And so you got to be upfront with folks. Don't ever be afraid to hide what you're thinking, because you never know when that chance to tell people what you're thinking ever comes back up. So I'm glad that you posted that yesterday on socials as a reminder. What was in the mug, by the way?
The mug is my first cup of coffee, actually, only, which is surprising. But I guess it is the holidays, so I was a little, not necessarily up early enough. But I did, make sure that my voice was nice and ready before I got on the show. But yeah, I mean, let's start there. I mean, SDH family knows me for a long time. We get into the subjects that matter and people want to know about, which is the soccer aspect. Not necessarily in my inner circle, but indirectly, I have heard stories and some unfortunate ones. And all I will say is that it's not just about telling everyone that you love them, because it is an opportunity you may not have. But in the same sense, in one way, not being afraid of showing love. But if you are not being shown love, then have that inner voice and get it out, express it to those around you, because the holidays are phenomenal and they're such a great time for most of us, a lot of us. But that percentage that isn't going through good times and they're isolated, they're lonely. Loneliness is a scary thing, and loneliness can lead to some bad decisions. And that's what indirectly I found some stories, through just people closer to other family members that have not had good decisions and have taken their own lives and things like that. And this is just recent, just days. So I threw that message out there, because if there's someone in your life that is showing isolation, is showing sadness, and in this time of the year, sharing that love, as I mentioned in that message, is important. And it's just about a conversation, a hello, come over for dinner, let's talk sports or not, let's talk chocolate and bacon. I mean, it doesn't matter. It is just about having a voice out there that says, I care, and that's important.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you never know how someone is feeling. So don't ever be afraid, even just in casual conversation, to sit there and go, how you doing? Even if they tell you they're fine, always ask. Even if they tell you they're fine, even if that couldn't be farther from the truth. The fact that you're asking, the fact that you're invested, the fact that you want to know how this person is doing, hopefully it resonates with them when it comes to not just this time of year, but all the time. And like I said when you came in, it's like, look, I always tell you I love you. And that is not something that I'm hiding anymore. And it has taken me about 80% of my to get to that point to where in this 20% where I am right now, don't be afraid to tell anybody anything. Don't be afraid to ask. Doesn't matter if it's a crappy day in March. Doesn't matter if it's a sunny day in June. Doesn't matter if it's a holiday that you're attached to. It never hurts to invest in someone else for a bit. And it's something as simple as checking in. It's something as simple as a text message, something as simple as sitting there and giving them a call, something as simple as a written note or an email. How you doing today? Heard about this. What the heck's going on? Let me know, reach out when you want to reach out. I'm here. It took me the longest time to understand the importance of that. And I am not letting that go. Now that light has come on, I'm not letting that go. And I know that some folks, they may not necessarily be comfortable in the same kind of an equal response, but that doesn't affect me in any way. It doesn't make me love them any less if they don't respond with the same thing that I tell them. It doesn't mean that I love them any less.
And friendship's a beautiful thing, man. Friendship is something that doesn't need, like you and I both, man. I love you, and we've never really met each other. We've never had a drink face to face, but all you need when it comes to friendship is a conversation, and it is having a relationship, or you could start a relationship, and it's always, my DMs are always open. I've said that consistently, and there's been 2 times, in the span of my career doing this, of someone reaching out and saying, look, hey, I'm having a tough time. I just went through a breakup and this was going on. I had somebody reached out and say, hey, I just lost my dad and I, just don't feel well. And I've given my phone number. Hey, give me a call, just if you want to talk, and in one of those occasions that person did call. So, the friendship is a thing that can ignite from anybody, and you got to cherish it. And like you said, you can't be afraid to say, I love you, I care, and like you bring up a good point. It doesn't have to be just now.
Yeah.
It's just that it resonates at the moment, but that's 24/7. All year long. Always have that in your back pocket, and know that people are always going to need somebody else. And if you yourself need somebody else, reach out.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk soccer for a change?
Yeah, man. No, let's do it. Hey, you know what? It's it's the holidays. We're off. We're on vacation. There is, MLS news are out there for sure. But from time to time, it's good to talk about things that matter more, and that's the reality of it. We might think that soccer is everything, and somebody getting the guy that they've been looking for in free agency might be the biggest piece of news that they want to know about. But someone out there might, be listening and be touched. So that's good enough for me.
Yep. Okay. So let's start with the keeper carousel and where things have kind of circled their way through. We start with Dane St. Clair. Dane St. Clair decides that he's not going to re-up in Minnesota. Minnesota apparently was offering him a boatload of money. He goes to Messi and Friends. Messi and Friends, before they brought in DSC, and I imagine this was a part of that dynamic, they do not renew the loan on Rocco Rios Novo. And you got a lot of folks here in this particular footprint who are hot about that. It's like, you bring in Rocco. Rocco proves himself to be further along than Oscar Ustari. Ustari has that one match. I want to say it was gives up like 17 goals. And Mascherano has had it. He makes the switch, goes from Ustari to Rocco Rios Novo. Rocco rides it to a title. Then they don't renew the loan. Then they bring in DSC. And so now it looks like it's going to be DSC and Ustari in Miami. So then that creates an opportunity for Minnesota to try and find somebody else. It looks like it's going to be Drake Callender, who was with Messi and Friends as a part of their 4 keepers at one point, because it was Ustari, Rocco, William Yarborough, who they brought in, and Yarborough sat there for the entire season that he was brought in. I think he might have gotten 1 cup appearance. And Drake Callender before Callender was shipped to Charlotte to possibly be the new number one behind Christian Kalina, because there were questions as to whether or not Kalina was going to be staying in Charlotte, or with the things that he was posting cryptically on social media, if I remember correctly, he was thinking about leaving and going back. And so then Charlotte decides they're looking to move Calendar. So Calendar looks like he might be going now to Minnesota. And now Sean Johnson, who was rumored to be heading to a bunch of different places, after he leaves Toronto, goes to DC, of all places. This is a GK Union carousel that has been unparalleled in the last week.
And I'll add one more to you. It is the Carlos Coronel saga
Yes!
that we thought was going to go to Orlando, and now reportedly that isn't really happening. So it does remind us of something, is that as much as reportedly right now St. Clair has made the decision and he's ready to go with Messi and friends, and he makes a whole ton of sense from his standpoint, and it sucks dearly for Minnesota, and they're making moves to replace him. Nothing's done until it gets done. And so, passing on $1 million, might seem easy for us just reading the story, but when you're counting there your bills and you're staking out your wallet, things might differ. But if everything stays as is, the Dane St. Clair move to Inter Miami puts them at the top of the food chain, if you will. I mean, they simply get their guy, they get the best available goalkeeper, and it just moves on from there. I thought the Calendar move was a savvy one. I think that we forget at times how maybe Calendar might not be a guy that was flashy, but he was very effective at one point, and he was a good goalkeeper, and he's a great shot stopper. And yes, he struggled at times getting out of the back and things like that. But when you look at free agency, I'd rather have a guy like Calendar than even a guy like Sean Johnson. No disrespect to Sean, although, DC, I feel like it is a good spot for him, and goalkeepers, you got to treat him differently. Those miles go different, so his age might not be as much of a factor as when it comes to other positions. And look, he was good. Sean Johnson is maybe not the guy that was in New York City FC, but he's still a guy that has the veteran presence, that has a great frame, that to me demands and commands respect as soon as he gets into a locker room. And he is a hard-nosed type of goalkeeper. So when it comes to this carousel, although you might see Inter Miami as the top winner and as the team that maybe is the rich getting richer, and they end up beating everybody to that, phenomenal get of St. Clair. I think that after that, just recouping and getting Calendar, it's a good move. I think that goes second. Sean Johnson to DC United. DC United is an interesting team right now that is getting some of those experienced MLS players, and they're going that route, right? The Ty Baribos, who, maybe not just experienced, but a proven forward is an important move for him. That's a move that with Sean Johnson, I think, will give you plenty to talk about. And then the Carlos Coronel saga, as far as I know, he is looking from the outside going in when it comes to MLS. He definitely wants to go to Brazil. There's actually other options exploring for him in South America. And I think that he does want to maybe take that route, that move towards leaving MLS.
Well, and you mentioned the keepers, and you mentioned DC. And so DC, for some reason, I don't know where they found it, but apparently they've decided to start spending money, and they're doing it down the spine. You've got Sean Nealis, and then you've got Sean Johnson. And so this strange thing that DC United is doing is they're working down the middle. They're working down the spine to try to figure things out. Obviously, there's a lot more to figure out, but at least you're seeing those initial steps of working down the spine to try to solidify things for 26 and beyond.
And they're going a different route. They aren't going out there and getting the big name right off the bat. They're filling up some important holes. I thought that Sean Nealis was a really good one as well, right? He is a guy that's going to solidify a horrendous defense for New York City, and he brings character and culture, which is something that DC has lacked for as long as I can remember. They haven't had a guy that's going to go in there and set the tempo. Can Chanil's be that guy? You know, coming from a good organization, sure, certainly he can do that. So, regardless of everyone being focused more on the Benteke replacement, and I do mean replacement more by name than by statistics, because clearly Tyberi was a guy that can put it in the back of the net, but I get fans being more ready and waiting for that big name to drop. Who is the guy that they're going to bring in? Is it going to be someone that has the same type of trajectory? I just don't know if that's what they need. I think DC United is doing the right thing by filling in the gaps with some really proven players and trying to raise the floor. DC United, their floor is so low, it's dead in the basement. You gotta build that foundation, and I feel like DC United is going, and I feel like that's where they're getting it right.
Yep, and so obviously we got to keep an eye on what we're seeing out of DC as a part of the keeper carousel in general. You look at Messi and friends. It looks like Lo Celso might be the next one who is coming in. That would be one of the additions that you're staring at with the departures of most of the Gulfstream Galacticos. Yes, DePaul, I believe, now goes to DP status. Luis Suarez comes in for one more year. Jordi Alba retires. Busquets retires. And so now it's Messi, it is Suarez, it is DePaul, and it might be Lo Celso that would be added to this mix of the young players that you know they got to hang on to if they're going to chase after back-to-back.
Yeah, Miami, the Celso thing, it does have legs. It does have legs. But within Miami, we got to be careful, people. Because anybody who's anybody is being linked to Inter Miami. That's just agents doing their job on one end. That is media members at times trying to clickbait you into things. So it is a fluid concept. The reality, though, is that Inter Miami is clearly making moves. They're clearly talking to people and having the Messi effect, making you the most attractive course in MLS. They're getting the pick of the litter, right? I mean, they are literally just going through and figuring out who it is that they want to get. So Inter Miami, if anything, with ambition and funds, they're going to be interesting to watch. But this also, you know, he is a player that in the midfield, I feel like he could fit. He definitely goes into the Messi and friends type of situation where there is a connection, there is a relationship. But DePaul is the guy that is going to have to be figured out where he plays best. Without Sergio Busquets this year, I don't know. Can DePaul play a little bit deeper? Do you want him playing deeper? Do you want him a little bit wider? Is he going to play more as an inside guy and you allow your wingbacks to give you all of your width, but at times maybe DePaul is playing a little bit higher up the field, where I don't know if he was necessarily impressive there last season, right? When Miami was at their best, it was when having some of these young guys like Silvetti out wide and getting into certain positions. So where does DePaul fit? I feel like is part of the big questions for Inter Miami, getting him to be more effective, more influential. So aside of all these moves coming in, and I'm not huge on touching every single rumor because, again, that comes from a ton of different places. When there's something more solidified, we can talk about it. But regardless of every single one of these rumors that are tapping in and you're starting to see, to me, the younger players is where they're really going. I feel like that's where Javier Mascherano is going to want to make his stamp with Inter Miami, is getting some of these younger guys, getting this team younger in all ways and senses, right? Regardless of them getting Luis Suarez back or not, he's clearly not going to be a guy that they're going to be leaning on for 30 games in 2026, or at least starting any of those 30 games. Maybe he does come in 30 games, but he is coming in the second half. He's giving you different things. But to me, Inter Miami's biggest objective is just getting that roster to be younger.
Yep. And speaking of younger, Orlando City this morning, before we came into hour number 2, acquired Luis Otavio from Internacional of Serie A
Good
in
move.
Brazil, via U22. So U22 through 27-28, club option for 28-29, pending receipt, obviously, the P1 visa and his ITC. 18 years old, quote from Ricardo Moreno this morning, joined Internacional in October of 24, professional later, 47 appearances, and has one goal between the first team and the U20s. And so you have Orlando City signing Luis Otavio from Internacional as a U22. They signed Tyrese Spicer to a new deal. And then they brought in Thiago Sosa, also from Brazil. So you see where Orlando, and they bring Sosa in from Bahia in Serie A in Brazil. So you're seeing where Orlando's gravitating right now. Obviously, they're gravitating younger. And once again, it's another U22 for Orlando through 27-28, club option 28-29. So like what we saw with Otavio, we're getting with Thiago Sosa, and comes through Bahia's youth academy, and it's acquired straight up as a U22. So you're looking at Orlando City, the purple team, getting younger, and they're going to South America to do it.
And they're giving some players depth there. I think that Otavio move is interesting because it feels like Atuesta and Cartagena will be the starters. So this guy gets to develop, and he has a huge high ceiling. I talked to a talent scout that is so high on Otavio being a future in this league and using MLS as he was already in Europe, right? He was already there, but there's a different ways when you are in Europe, kind of in the back of the kitchen, if you will, rather than on the front. And that's what MLS can do for this guy, is giving him some real minutes, making him a player that is going to be able to, at one point later down the road, maybe it is next year, really breaking in and having that breakthrough year that everybody's waiting for. And then you can get back on the scene in Europe more of as a protagonist and a guy coming in directly to make an impact on the team. And for me, Orlando City sees the benefit of, look, MLS is becoming a showcase in the world, and maybe could bring in a guy that's going to help us out. We could win in at the very end. Becoming a selling league is not something that is in everybody's top objectives and being a selling team, but I think Orlando sees a potential where a couple of these guys can come in, be just gems in the rough or diamonds in the rough. You could polish them real well, sell them out there, and you become a new systematic team with MLS that can get guys out there. And that can help you record more players. You know, we've talked about Inter Miami and how quickly and how easy it is for them to get people. If Orlando City can continue to do this, I think Morera has a really good plan about how to get this team globally recognized as someone that can be a stepping stone for a lot of young talent.
Okay, a couple of other transactions and thoughts before I'll give you dealer's choice. You can talk about whichever ones you want to get into. There's a talk that Justin Hack might be heading to LAG. Brooklyn Reigns moves from Houston to New England for up to $2 million, which I thought was a big deal. So the 20-year-old, Houston gets 1.6 guaranteed and an additional $400,000 if certain conditions are met. Signed a U22 deal with New England through 28-29 with a club option for 29-30. So Brooklyn Reigns moves over as he was part of the 22 under 22. Then you've also got Dante Seeley from Colorado. Colorado making a lot of sneaky moves in the offseason, getting Dante Seeley from Montreal. Austin gets Joseph Rosales from Minnesota United for one, and Minnesota's getting $1.5 million and a sell on. So there's a lot of little deals here. Teams, you sit there and go, okay, this one, and this one. There's a lot of interesting deals that are going on here for 7 figures and more inside the league when it comes to Garber Bucks.
Yeah, look, so let's start with LA Galaxy. I think Justin Hack is a great move by the Galaxy. I think that between Vanny and Coons, they're deciding that it is important to just shore down what was clearly a huge problem last season. defensively, this team was beyond bad. And when you have a guy like Justin Hack that is as versatile, you can step into midfield, you could play center back, you could play three in the back. He would work perfectly in this system with what Greg Vanney wants to do. And he has a whole lot of potential, and he might not be the most exciting move because people continue to email me, and DM me and try to ask me who is the new 9 and the new striker for this team. And I tell them, look, this is what the LA Galaxy needs to do, is go out there and get this type of signings to shore the back. And Justin Haig is a guy that even the Sounders talked to prior to getting Hassani Dotson. Different for their system. I don't think he would work as well here. The Sounders, as much as they built out of the back with 3, they play very simply on the 4-2-3-1. And even when they don't, and there is variations to that formation, I don't think Justin necessarily fits in here. But the Sounders are a team that rate him very high. And I think that him going to the LA Galaxy does give him that opportunity to get in there and be a guy that's going to change the way that Vanney's system works from the back moving to the front. And he's going to be a guy that's going to help distribute. He's going to guy that's going to help tremendously on set pieces, both offensively and defensively. So I just think that is a phenomenal move. I expect a lot more from the LA Galaxy, at least with not maybe the huge move people are waiting for. There is a 9 that they're looking at, and I don't know if it's going to be what everyone expects, but between him and others that they're probably looking at, I don't think I have all the names. They are going to get, and they're going to figure that one out. But Austin, to me, has been the most. It's not the most active, and it's not the one that you consider as them winning as of right now, the off season.
Yeah.
But sometimes addition by subtraction can be a great tool for a team to get better. And I feel like they dig that. The fact that they were able to offload a DP spot, to say, look, we're going to cut loose a couple of $1 million here. We're going to take a hit, but we're going to get some money back. And now we're going to open a DP spot. We can do what Bukhari can do and have a guy like Jaden Nelson come in and give us the speed, the transition moments, some of the creativity, and we're getting it on a much lower number. And now we can go ahead and play around, whether it is getting another striker, trying to figure out whether that is something that we want to do. Maybe there's a deal for Brandon Vasquez that we don't know about, and maybe they can move on from there. But I feel like Austin FC is doing a great job at assessing what they have, getting rid of the dead weight, and making changes immediately. The Joseph Rosales move that you mentioned, to me, is underrated. Cash by transfer, using a resource that not a lot of MLS teams have the capability to use. But man, 25-year-old Honduran international, can play the midfield, can play the fullback position. He could play wingback. Clearly defensively sound. Man, I just feel like he's a great get. He's a guy that's going to be able to come in and help and give a lot of freedom to a guy like Austin Wolf. He is clearly taking over that maybe that Cascante role as well. So there is just so much get out of what Austin is doing when it comes to smart business that they're excited to see. And they're not done. They are absolutely not done. They're going to go out there and they're going to get themselves a DP that's going to give them that attacking component that they didn't have last season. Austin Wolf is just one guy, and although he had a breakthrough season, he looked lonely. He looked like he was doing everything on his own. So getting another guy that's gonna be a difference maker, that's not gonna be as unidimensional and as easy to defend as Bukhari was at times, because he had some great stuff going for him, but he seemed like he was just speed, get me into space, and that's about it. This Austin team getting a guy that could also play in those inside channels is going to be a huge get for this team. So for me, I'm really looking heavily at what Austin's going to be doing this season because they seem to be just doing smart business.
And you mentioned that this is a straight cash homie deal. This is not like the Reigns deal where it's Garber bucks. And this is a deal. This is the intra franchise deal league, the intra league deal where you can sit there and open up the wallet and cut a check and not have it apply to Garber bucks. The Rosales deal is $1.5 million straight up cash and the sell on percentage. So Minnesota's getting a little money. Lord knows what they're going to do with it. They may just buy more buses and park them in a garage someplace, and that's about it. Or maybe get more quarter zip pullovers for Eric Ramsey and more white T-shirts. But I mean, this is a straight cash deal. And you mentioned Jaden Nelson. You've got Joseph Rosales here. And the fact that they did get rid of Bukhari, all three of these things, if you look at them in a line, I think it's solid business. The fact that Bukhari came in underwhelmed. I mean, it was well below what you were anticipating from him. I mean, at one point, I think own goal was the second leading scorer in Austin at one point, and this was just as Brandon Vasquez had gotten injured. And so you were getting nothing from the other DP. The fact that you can move Bukhari, and you move him on, you bring in Jaden Nelson, you bring in Joseph Rosales, very, very sneaky stuff. And I agree with you there about what Austin is able to do with the one out. Yeah, you take a hit, but you bring in these two. Are there any other deals in the last week that have stood out? Any other stuff that you're hearing around the water cooler? Any other things that we need to keep an ear out for? Anything else going on?
There is something I'm working on, and it's for Atlanta. I'm hoping that it comes out. I'm hoping that it goes the right way. It's very early on, so that's why I'm not. But I am working on something. It's going to be interesting. I think that for Atlanta United, it is going to be about addition by subtraction. And I've been on the Marchik leaving since last season when I talked about the Pedro de la Vega possibility, and that obviously you needed to move on from one of your DPs. And Marchik, as much as he is a guy that ended up being a little more effective at the end of the day, I do feel like the front office sees him as a guy that they want to move away from. And if they could move away from him and bring in a couple of guys that are very interested in coming to Atlanta, I feel like those are going to be game changers for Atlanta United. So we'll wait to see where that goes. But I'm excited about a couple of the names that I'm hearing that could be possibilities for Atlanta United. But you do need to move on from one of your DPs. It's not going to be as easy as just bringing them on. But Atlanta has a huge debt to the fan base. And Chris Henderson, again, I would trust him with my team any day of the week. We know that Gart Lagerwey, for bigger reasons, would not be continuing with Atlanta. But I have all the faith in the world in Chris Henderson. He has the knowledge, the experience, the charisma, the connections, the networking. And I know that Atlanta fans probably are like, Niko, you talk very nicely of some people that haven't necessarily been as great. But I do think that he has all of the credentials to get Atlanta United off the rut. So I do expect a lot of moves for Atlanta United going into January. And there's going to be some outbound players, and there's going to be some really good players coming into Atlanta United. The Sam Surridge one is interesting. That the rumor that you kind of mentioned to me,
Yeah.
Because as much as I do know that there's interest for Sam, I also know that Nashville is not necessarily loving what they could get out of him and how much it could cost to replace him.
Yeah.
Nashville isn't a team that just has blank checks either. I think that they do have a very limited capita going into that team. And moving on from Sam would mean that you got to replace that amount of goals, a guy that has been influential and a guy that has finally been able to figure out what it is to work with Mukhtar. And that is a huge component for Sam, and there's a huge component for what BJ Callahan wants to do. BJ finally gets this team where he wants it. Yes, in the playoffs they were a bit of a dud, and believe me, they disappointed me the most. I thought that they were going to be able to work in and beat Miami. They didn't. So I do think that BJ Callahan wants to work with what he has, and although there is interest for Sam, I don't see him leaving unless there is a cannot refuse type of offer for him, and then we'll talk something else. But right now, I think that Sam will stay with Nashville.
Yeah, okay. And I like how you buried the lead there with Atlanta United, waiting until the end of the segment to sit there and discuss things with Atlanta United. We are of a mindset to let Chris Henderson cook. Here at SDH, we want Chris Henderson to cook. We want to see what he can do when he's in the kitchen. So we are intrigued, we are anticipating, and we are on the edge of not only our seat but your seat as well when it comes to what to anticipate with Chris. Okay. What is going on in the world of Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart, other than trying to figure out where you're going to put that pony that you got under the Christmas tree?
Yeah, we are kind of on cruise control right now. So we definitely have laid out all of the shows for the season so far here in Seattle. The only thing that's coming up is finally the official word from the team about Paul Rothrock. So we've talked about that pretty consistently. So it's going to finish off like this for 2026. We do have some remixes of shows and interesting things that we've gone throughout the year, both at YouTube in Pulso Sports and with Sandra Hart. We might get on Lobbin Scorchers one more time to talk about the off season. But aside from there, we're going to wait it out till January, unless there's something that needs to be talked about. If there is a big move by one of the big teams here in the PNW, we don't expect a lot of movement there. I've been following Vancouver, but it's mainly about keeping their guys. I think that's what they're focusing on. Is we need to keep the core together. We need to make sure that we don't let go of certain guys. So there isn't really anything that I would expect. So for me, it's going to be cruise control. We're going to be reloading for 2026 season, but go ahead and obviously check us out, follow us. I do have a end of year video that I always throw out through Pulso Sports, where I'll break down some things, talk about what's coming up for 2026. So go ahead and check that out on Pulso Sports.
Okay, so with Thursday being New Year's, do you want to do New Year's Eve day at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, or do you want to do Friday next week like we did this week?
When is New Year's? Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday's New Year's. Yeah. So it's the same situation next week as this week. Do you want to go before New Year's, or do you want to go Friday after New Year's? You want to go? Do you want to go on the 2nd of January, or do you want to go on the last day of December on that Wednesday?
No, yeah, let's go on the 2nd.
Okay,
2nd for sure.
All right. So then the power hour is intact, and so for today it's going to be Nino Torres at 10. It's going to be our buddy Niko Moreno at 10:30 Eastern. Hopefully not having to hide there in a lower section of the house while everyone is trying to recover from Christmas and all of its trappings. As I always tell you, I love you very much, my friend. Thank you for going long this morning. I know we had a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on a bunch of different levels. So just be safe. Have a great holiday. Enjoy the rest of this weekend, and we will catch up with you in the new year in 2026, and we will discuss next week. Why don't you grab the MLS? Why don't you grab the Niko Moreno High School Yearbook for Major League Soccer from 25, and we'll go through all of the awards. Most likely to succeed, Homecoming King, Homecoming Queen, Miss Congeniality, those kinds of things. We'll talk about transactions, but we'll go through the yearbook and we'll see what the librarian said when she signed the yearbook. You've been a tremendous student. Thank you for bringing the books back on time every single time in the media center. We'll have fun like we always do.
I love that.
So we'll have fun at Niko Moreno High next weekend when it comes to Major League Soccer. Love you very much, my friend. Be safe. Enjoy your weekend. We will catch up with you next Friday as we go into 2026. Be safe. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, John. You the man. Love you guys. Have a happy New Year's, everyone. Enjoy it.
You got it. All right. So there goes Niko. And Niko definitely went into added time. Right now, We are 59th minute heading into the 60th minute, and it's 30 to go. And Egypt is playing with 10, and they lead South Africa on a Mo Salah penalty that was at the end of the first half by the score of 1-0, trying to work quickly off a set piece. Big kick save by the South African keeper to keep it at 1-0. Once again, after Egypt and South Africa, it is 2 more matches to day 1 of match day number 2, and it is 12:30 Zambia and the Comoros. Zambia, the numbers on the Comoros have come closer to Zambia. So Comoros now in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, less than plus 200 now. So you have Comoros at plus 199, Zambia to plus 156, 90-minute draws of plus 195. 3 o'clock, Morocco and Mali. Morocco still a big favorite at a minus 189. Your activity in the draws of plus 283, and Mali is a plus 575. Remember, you have the one matchup today in the Premier League. Your Boxing Day matchup is Manchester United going up against Newcastle. Check out the 3D, and you get Drew's thoughts on Manchester United currently. And he talks about Brian Mbumo, among others. Right now, Manchester United, Newcastle, dead blank and even. Juice box purveyors have 59 across the board. Doesn't matter which side you go on. 90-minute draw is a plus 256. So that's what you're looking at with those particular matchups as well. And in this, I'm also trying to sort through. I'm trying to sort through a bunch of different messages here at the same time. All right, so let's take a tour real quick, go through all the news and see if there's anything that we might have missed going into today. Once again, we'll keep an eye on everything involving Egypt and South Africa. Once again, big saves across the board, and we now see why the red was given. So set piece now for South Africa from let's see, 32 it looks like. And so you've got some directing of traffic going on. So set piece from 32, smashes it into the wall, goes through a player. Keeper takes down a South African attacker off of the rebound. And Apollos for South Africa, who Jason really likes, was active in the play once again. So literally just a set play and offside from the very beginning. So the flag was up, and the other activity did not matter. AR with the flag up, and it was also man in the middle with the flag up. So still 1-0 offside, no penalty call or anything like that. It looks like they might be reviewing it, but it should be just straight up offside. And 63rd minute, Egypt, 10-man Egypt is leading South Africa by the score of 1-0. And for some reason, they seem to be going over that particular play and seeing if, in fact, there is anything to review. There shouldn't be anything to review. It should be straight up offside, and then nothing happens after that. But it has gone to VAR, and the angle is there. It is offside. It literally, you are right on the edge of the 18 with the one camera angle, and it's offside. And it also looks like the South African player kind of made a meal of the contact with the keeper. And so it was waved off, and it is once again goal kick. Late 63rd minute, Egypt playing with 10, leading South Africa by the score of 1-0. Let's take a tour and let you know what else is going on before we get out of here. And I know that we've gone long because there kind of was a lot of stuff that we got into this morning on a bunch of different fronts. So, all right. So let's check. Coventry lead Borough right now. Once again, you can catch all of the action in the EFL Championship on Paramount Plus. It's going to be a big day for the EFL Championship, League One and League Two, and you can catch all that once again on Paramount Plus for most of the day. So let's take a peek at the papers and let you know what's going on. Let's see. So we're going to avoid the 3 and the 4-letter paper. Andre Onana from one of the 4-letter offshoots has indicated he'd be happy to join Trabzonspor permanently when the season-long loan ends. Crystal Palace likely to rival West Ham in signing Jurgen Strand-Larsen from Wolves in January. So he is a want-away forward, and now it makes a little bit more sense as to, according to the Telegraph, why the Wolves would be chasing after Sam Surridge. So we'll keep an eye on that. Barcelona have cooled their interest in Mark Guehi after learning his wage demands. Marcus Rashford keen to stay at Barcelona beyond this season. Bayern Munich closely monitoring Cardiff City teenager Dylan Lawler. Spurs target Ryan has reportedly cut ties with his agent ahead of the January transfer window. All of those are according to Sport and TalkSport. Juve planning to use Jonathan David in a swap deal for Sandro Tonali, according to Gazzetta. And even though Tonali wants to, from all indications, Tonali has wanted to stay to reward Newcastle for their not giving up on him after all of the charges and the suspension that he had. So does he stay and continue to remain loyal, or does he want to go back to Juve? Those would be the big questions. Toby Oluwayemi from Celtic, attracting interest from clubs in England and Europe. That's kind of nebulous. No real surprise. So, hey, there's a keeper who's got interest. Sure. All right. Then so be it. So you got that. The club is in limbo, according to Eddie Howe, with unresolved stadium plans when he was asked about it. According to Sky, he admitted the club's in limbo once again. The Saudi-backed owner is currently assessing their options over whether to redevelop St. James or move to a new site, as they want revenue, while behind the scenes, a training base vastly improved remains inferior to those of their competitors. Eddie Howe was asked about how the club can go forward. Quote, fundamentally looking at the club with a broader view, you look at the training ground and stadium, that part of the club is in limbo at the moment. In terms of which direction the club is going to take, it would be a big step forward to get clarity on that and to take everything into the future in a really positive way. Would be a game-changing effect on everything. He's also mentioning the academy in that discussion as well. So Johan Vissa has promised there's more to come from him after his injuries have kind of kept him in one place, and that is not playing on Tyneside. So there's all of those discussions as well. So let's see. Rodri is much better, according to Pep Guardiola, as he's stepping up his recovery. So keep an eye on that as well when it comes to players and availability and all that kind of stuff when it comes to the Premier League. See if I'm missing anything else with activity going on. Once again, it was 1-1. Patrick Agimong with the game-tying goal. Birmingham only gets a point. Derby County gets a point. Ipswich promotion push gets a draw with Millwall, so that doesn't help them out a bit. Oliver Glasner gives a Jean-Philippe Mateta surgery update in his press conference, and coping well with doesn't require surgery with his knee issue, coping well with the run of games coming up. It was reported Mateta may require surgery for a knee issue, been playing through with recent weeks, with Danny Munoz out until the new year with a similar issue. Oliver Glasner was asked about it, as Mateta is regularly subbed in the second half of matches. And Glasner said, if we just play the players without any issue, I will play Mateta against Spurs. Definitely. I think we played 28 games in 5 months, and the internationals even more. So Oscar Bob, if he's allowed to leave in the January transfer window, according to TalkSport. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. All right, let's tour the papers. We looked at the Guardian really quickly, so let's see if there's any other news before we get out of here. I guess on a supersized Friday show, 68th minute, and it is still 1-0 as we go. So how about thetimes.co.uk? Is it there? There it is. Okay. So I was trying to remember the URL for sport at the Times newspaper. So, yes, Roman Abramovich, and Roman Abramovich has hired lawyers. I know this shocks you all, to fight the Jersey government over the 5.3 billion pounds in assets, and there is an opportunity for him to continue to kick the can down the road in all of this. So Martin Ziegler, and once again, when we mention the Times and we mention Martin Ziegler, there are things that you don't want. And having a byline where you are attached to Martin Ziegler is never something big that you want. So now Roman Abramovich has hired, according to Martin Ziegler, some of the world's top lawyers to represent him in his court battle in Jersey, once again with the 5.3 billion pounds in play. Representatives of Abramovich say that 1.4 billion of the 2.35 received from the sale of Chelsea cannot be released to the charitable foundation until an investigation and legal action are dropped by the Jersey government. As reported last week, once again, Abramovich is going to disregard demands by Prime Minister of Great Britain, Sir Keir Starmer, to release all the money from the Chelsea sale before March 17 to go to the foundation. Abramovich's heavyweight legal team now includes Lord Wolfson, King's Counsel, the shadow AG in the House of Lords, and Eric Hirschman, who was Donald Trump's senior legal advisor during his first term as U.S. president. 4 other KCs are a part of the legal team: Howard Sharp, Maya Lester, Richard Lissack, and Andrew Stafford. Abramovich has won an order for the Jersey government to pay some of his court costs and is set to apply for about £2.5 million. Should the UK government follow through on their threat to take Abramovich to court over the Chelsea dollars, it could face a similarly strong legal team. The 2.35 billion pound proceeds plus 150 million pounds of interest has been frozen in the bank account of Ford Stam Limited since 2022. Latest company accounts show that 1.137 billion pounds of that is owed to Camberley International Investments Limited, a Jersey-registered company also owned by Abramovich. So he owes himself 1.429 billion pounds. Proceeds of sale, after allowing for other balance sheet items, would be gifted to a charitable foundation. Stephen Dowdy, Foreign Office Minister of State overseeing the case, has insisted the government's confident of their legal position, including in relation to the Jersey court action. And so the Times has seen a copy of the letter the island's director of high-value residency, Kevin Lamassny, wrote back in 2017. Pleasure to see you again. Next time you're in Jersey, perhaps we can meet for lunch, among other things. So Abramovich has succeeded in a legal challenge to force Jersey ministers and other senior figures to produce private messages, emails, and data related to him. And the government in Jersey and Abramovich's reps have traded statements where, once again, categorically reject all allegations of conspiracy. And this is from the government of Jersey. Misfeasance in public office or bad faith, claims entirely without foundation, will be addressed through the appropriate legal channels. So this looks like Roman Abramovich owes money to Roman Abramovich. He's got fancy lawyers to keep Jersey from chasing after said dollars. And even if they even were to win the court case, the idea by Roman Abramovich is that it would probably only be in the neighborhood of 900 million that would make its way to whatever, as Abramovich continues to kick the can down the road. So you got that to look at also. The Romero ban for Spurs could be extended over the aggressive treatment of referees in this case. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if it does in fact get expanded. So now let's go to the Independent and see if there's anything that we missed there. And let's see, independent.co.uk. Soccer. We go to soccer and we'll see if there's anything there. Let's see. Carabao Cup semi. We talked about the injury. Ademola Lookman gets Nigerian AFCON win after a scare from Tanzania. And it looks like we might be okay when it comes to activity off of the reporters in the Independent. I think we're okay there. Bunny Shaw scored 4. Manchester City maintained their WSL advantage. So that has happened recently as well. And I think, as I sit here and scan quickly, I think we're good there when it comes to the Independent. So I'm going to call it there. I mean, it is almost 11:30, so almost 11:35. So we have been at it for quite a while. Once again, thanks for coming by, as you always do. And we'll be back at it again on Monday. And we will once again lay out everything that is attached to all of the instances that we talk about here, whether it's the Premier League. We'll get Abe Gordon back from vacation. Should be Bart Keeler once again talking Yanks abroad, cards and calls, all of that stuff. And we'll get you ready once again. This week's broadcast schedule the same as next week. Shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no show Thursday because of New Year's. And we'll be back on Friday. And the Power Hour will be back on Friday outside of their traditional slot of Thursdays from 10 to 11:05. So that is it. All right. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Safe traveling for those of you who are watching from the road. Thanks again, Abby, for being a great conversation this morning, and thanks to Hutch for being for jumping in as well as a part of everything. Yes, Paramount has a Golasso show for ESL Championship. That's excellent. Very, very cool. But yes, we did have some interesting talks from Niko Moreno, kind of buried the lead as he was discussing Atlanta United and Chris Henderson. He mentioned specifically Alexei Miranchuk. So we'll find out if there's anything that's attached to those conversations, and keep an eye out for social media. Keep an eye out on stations, as we'll be back 9:05 a.m. on Monday, provided we can actually see through the fog that is here in Middle Alabama. So for everybody here, hopefully you had a fantastic Christmas holiday. Hopefully you will have a fantastic weekend if you, in fact, did celebrate both of those. We all celebrate the weekend. I don't know if we've celebrated the Christmas holiday yet. But once again, thanks for dropping by, as you always do, as I try and sign off for the third time. 1-0, Egypt 15 to go, and plus any added time. They're down to 10. South Africa's throwing everything at them, but they haven't gotten the equalizer yet. So for everybody here at SDH AM, thanks for dropping by, as you always do, which means it is the end of the week. And, of course, that means that we end the week only in one way. It's this way. Mucho Platiel played safe. We'll catch up with you again on Monday. Keep an eye out for all of our content on the weekend, and we'll see you beginning of next week. Last week of 2025, heading into 2026. Mucho Platiel played safe. Love you. We'll see you soon.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours because it's Friday.